Hello and welcome to Investors Hangout. This weekly interaction to help you learn and understand savings and investment issues is brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. In today's episode, let's unravel the secret of building a winning portfolio. Whether you are an aspiring investor, a freelancer with irregular income sources, or a professional, this video is your essential guide to crafting portfolios that stand out. And to do that, we have Dhirendra Kumar with us. Welcome, Dhirendra.
Thank you.
So, why don't we begin our discussion with the description of a well constructed portfolio and how does it look like?
One is that don't wait for my prescription, and don't think of building a great portfolio as an excuse to postpone your investment. Get started with something anyway. Howsoever bad or good, it doesn't matter. Because till you start investing, there is no possibility of succeeding with it. And even if you fail with a mutual fund, you will end up succeeding, because what happens is, if you don't invest, your learning begins the moment you start investing. You see the ups and downs, acclimatizing yourself with that. So starting now or whenever you can, at earliest when you have savings, is the most important thing. Then comes how to build a winning portfolio. Building a winning portfolio is a fairly straightforward thing. And if you get distracted by too many ideas around it, you will not be able to build one. In fact, getting too much focused on building a winning portfolio is a recipe of disaster, in the sense that investing in a mutual fund or investing in markets or investing in anything which is linked to the market, you have to diversify. And you have to diversify simply because you don't know enough about anything. And you just don't know which sector will do well. You don't know which company will do well. You don't know which fund will do well. You don't know which style will do well. You don't know which geography will do well. So because you don't know any of these, and even if you know it, it is very hard to guess it right all the time. Because if you are right about it once in a while, you will be wrong about it once in a while. So that is why you must diversify. Then the state of the market, it is cheap or expensive, you don't know. That is why you should stagger your investment. So do your SIP, invest in a diversified vehicle. And any investor doing this, even if he has not been able to pick a great fund or a great bunch of fund, he will still succeed.
So, what advice do you have for beginners who are just starting to build their portfolios? What steps should they take to get started?
As I was saying earlier, that's get started anyway. But methodically thinking about it, I think any new investor should start with a diversified vehicle. Start with a diversified vehicle like a aggressive hybrid fund. It will have a little bit of fixed income. It will have substantially into equity. The equity component will be diversified. And initially, the biggest fear is that you start and the market tanks and you are scared for life and you run away not to come back again. That is something which you will be insured against, or you will be insulated to. So start with aggressive hybrid fund. If you are used to the market somehow, you have tried it and you're wanting to be methodical about it from here on, maybe start with a flexi cap fund. So these are the two vehicles. Third one is that if you will invest, start, and it will also help you save taxes. Maybe start with a tax saving fund. So these are the three vehicles. Conservatively with aggressive hybrid fund. Maybe little used to start with a flexi cap fund, or if it will save you tax, a tax saver.
So people with different income sources, like a professional with a regular income or a freelancer whose income is a little irregular, how should they approach it? Should they approach it differently, or is there a way to go about it?
Oh, they should be a little more methodical about it. And they should definitely approach it differently, because they can't do SIP. Only with a predictable stream that you get your salary credited to your account on 1st of every month, you can plan your SIP. In this case, sometimes you will get more, sometimes you will not get it. So what I suggest anybody who has intermittent or less periodic or less reliable stream of income, but you end up earning anyway, I think the suggestion will be that create 2-3 months of emergency fund, put that in a short-term debt fund, which means that you will keep drawing your salary. You will not be deprived of your income need from that money. And whatever you get, do your budgeting and invest that money. It is like a SIP, except that it is not very structured. It is not happening on, it is systematic in the sense which is dependent on whenever you are able to save, whenever you are able to earn. So create your buffer and then start doing your investing. Whenever that buffer is coming to an end, fill it up before you start investing. So you created your emergency, not emergency, I would say, consumption fund for next 3 months. And 2 months has passed and you haven't earned anything. And in the third month, you get money again. Replenish that 3 months requirement and rest of the money you invest. So do your SIP, be regular about investing. I think that is one of the biggest, most important things for anybody to be financially independent and successful. Next comes, what kind of vehicles? Same vehicle, diversify for your long-term money.
So how should investors determine their investment goals, risk tolerance? How should they approach that?
Broadly, many a times when you start earning and then you start saving, don't think about goals. Start investing anyway. Whatever is the surplus, put it to work. Goals are primarily, whatever be the goal, whether it be child's education, buying a home, buying a bike, your retirement, they can broadly be classified into, 3 categories. The money which you want to be handy, short term. And that money can remain invested like that or might lie around for many years. But that is your emergency fund or the consumption fund I was referring to. Second is the money which you need in a near term, 3 to 5 years, 7 years. You know the time frame that, okay, my child will get into school and that is the time when I might need 50,000 rupees. That is the money which in a couple of years, that is another one. And the one which you don't need in the foreseeable future, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, your retirement money. The money that you want to use for down payment 10 years down the line for buying a house. Those kind of things. So long-term things, think of equity. Medium term, think of debt. And, short term, put it in cash. Whether it be lying in a bank account or a fixed deposit or a short-term debt fund. And this should be broadly the guiding principle. Because if you go wrong on this step, you will be in for nasty surprises. If you put your long-term money into short-term, into debt or, fixed income, the problem is that you will get predictable return, you will get guaranteed return, but it will not be enough. It will not grow well enough. If you put your short-term money into equity, you will be again in for a very big disappointing time because you need the money 6 months down the line and the market will tank. And it definitely happens when you are getting very greedy.
And what about the alternative assets like real estate, cryptocurrencies as a part of their portfolio? How should investors approach that?
Thoughtful investors, intelligent investors should look at it not as an investment. Think of buying a house. Think of buying a jewelry for your wife or, for yourself. And crypto, give it a pass. It is a speculative vehicle. And if at all you are getting attracted to crypto, tempted to buy in crypto because it goes up dramatically, create some kind of fund allocation. Say 50,000 rupees is my fund allocation. It becomes 0, I'll be okay. If it becomes 50,000 becomes 2 lakh rupees, I'll take the money out and go on a holiday or have some fun. So have your fund allocation for the speculative vehicle, if at all you have to. One is that you can do without getting into any of these speculative things. And home should be looked upon as a shelter that you're buying, and buy it only if it will save you rent. Buy it only if you are going to live in it. If it is going to be a speculative vehicle, better give it a pass because it's a very big ticket purchase. And most people emotionally get attracted to having house which they don't need.
And for investors who are planning their retirement, what should be the time horizon for their portfolio construction?
No, you need to work for your retirement all your life. You start earning and that is the time when you should start investing. And the money which will be left, because assuming that you retire at 60 or you retire at 65 or you work till 75, depending on the kind of work that you're doing, you have to reconfigure your portfolio little bit depending on how much is your income requirement and what is your accumulation. And when you retire, you have to see that if your accumulation is enough to generate, so that it will generate 6% return or 5% return, and it will be more than enough for your monthly requirement, you are home, you are okay. If it is less than that, then you have to really worry about it because you need a larger corpus and have a margin of safety, because at a stage when you will stop working, you need to have the margin of safety. And that is where I feel that, not having a withdrawal rate of more than 5% can only comfort you for retirement. Now comes, how that retirement corpus should be invested as compared to when you're accumulating. When you're accumulating, it can all be substantially into equity. It should be dominantly into equity. It should be 75%, 60%, or 80% into equity. Once you retire, then you need to get little conservative. But that little conservative does not mean all fixed income. Take out your 3 years requirement, 3-year annual requirement for income into fixed income, so that one part is taken care of, and the rest of the money, maybe, depending on the scale, you can be more conservative or more aggressive by putting it 50%, 60%, 75% into equity. So one is to actually have that 3-year consumption fund, and then comes an asset allocation which is not all equity.
So now portfolio construction is with such minute details. What are the red flags or mistakes you should look out for?
The one is that, all said and done, as I was saying, that choose a diversified vehicle, choose a vehicle which will be consistent, because but most investors get attracted to investment only which has done very well in the recent past. What has done in the last 1 year, what has done exceedingly well in the last 6 months. That is the reason why people invest in crypto. So I think, one should just work on an asset allocation, choose diversified vehicle, make sure that your diversification is good enough, and you diversify a little better, more effectively as your corpus gets larger. When you are starting, you can start with one fund, and that to an aggressive hybrid fund which will get you exposure to all kind of asset classes. As it gets bigger, you need to diversify it over 2 funds, so that if one fund manager goes out of favor or it stops doing well, the other one is acting as a counterbalance, or is doing well. Then as it becomes substantial towards your retirement, then it should be spread over 3-4 funds, so that all of them don't go wrong at the same time.
Okay, so the last question is, how often should investors review and rebalance their portfolio? What factors should prompt adjustments to the portfolio?
Review should be primarily driven by the fact that, you have chosen a vehicle, and you have chosen a vehicle because it was consistently doing well, and it has stopped doing well. You need to find the reason. You can't jump from one fund to another because it has tax implication. The moment you take your one investment which has been invested for 5, 10, 15 years, all your accumulation, all your appreciation will become taxable, and 10% of that money you will lose. You have to pay by way of taxes as capital gains. So you need to be careful, and you need to understand the reason that, okay, is it going, because many a times people sell a fund simply because the fund is not doing well. But the fund may not be doing well because the market is not doing well. The fund is doing better than the market, but you are disappointed, you are upset. So a fund which generates superior return, an equity fund, is not going to give you return year after year like a fixed deposit. Only fixed deposit does, but then it gives less return. So be prepared for inconsistency. Be prepared for finding the reason before you sell. And if you find that the reason is good enough, okay, this fund has lost its momentum. It is doing worse than its peers. It is doing worse than its peer year after year. That's good enough reason to sell. So you should sell, and you should do this review every year, so that it is little more tax efficient. You are not getting anxious about your investment month after month, day after day, because the market is in a state which will cause anxiety every day.
Hope we answered all your questions regarding creating a winning portfolio. Now we have a viewer's question. Vipin asks, I am a 36-year-old. I just have bought a house for rupees 1.3 crore, and out of which 81 lakh rupees is the loan at the rate of 8.4% interest for 20 years. I didn't use my investments at all as down payments, as market is giving me much more higher returns than the loan interest. I still have 30 lakh rupees invested money. I want to retire early around 48-50 years. My current expenses including home loan EMIs are 1,45,000. What should be my FIRE number, and how can I achieve that?
Given his framework, he has bought his house, paying his loan, and his monthly expense is 1,45,000 rupees. And he wants to retire in about 15 years' time. For that, he will tentatively require about 3 crore rupee. And there is a margin of safety built into it, because during this period, in this next 15 years, he will also be would have repaid the loan, and his His current expense of 1,45,000 rupees, which also includes the EMI, the repayment, that will be the buffer he will have. So taking 1,45,000 rupees, he needs, he will require about 3 crore rupee. Now adjusting it for inflation, maybe he can create another 1.5 crore buffer into it. Then comes how much money will be contribution will help him achieve that goal over the next 15 to 18 years. That is, given that he has 30 lakh rupees worth of savings already, and that will be invested in equity, which looks like it is because it's yielding very handsome return. He needs to invest something like 40,000 rupees a month over the next 15 years for it to accumulate up to 3 crore. Maybe because you need to, depending on what your post-retirement needs are, plans are, you need to tweak it. I'm giving a very ballpark estimation of 3 crore needed to lead a life of dignity, and that can be achieved with about 40,000 rupees a month. But if you have some sophisticated need, which will require even more money, or some foreign travel or some exploration, that's a different story. You need to adjust for that.
Okay, that's all we have for you in today's episode. Keep watching this space for more information. If you like the show, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take care. Bye for now.